Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, sponsored by the Draft Professors. I am joined by three incredibly gifted draft professors: Tyler, Ben, Drew. Good morning, Ben. How are you doing?
Not so bad. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Tyler, is there any hope of the snow melting up north where you are?
Well, actually, we hit the 55 mark yesterday. So it was a warmer week. We're starting to melt a little bit. And so that part is good. We actually might get some rain today. I think we might be moving out of that cold winter. No more, negative 23 below real feel is what I'm hoping.
Yeah, we weren't below freezing for the first time this week. And then next week is looking way better in Ohio. Yeah. And Drew, so give us the advanced weather report from the Midwest.
I mean, it's been like 70 these past couple days. It has been an absolute beaut outside. It's been perfect. Yeah, I've been walking to class. I've been doing all that. It's been absolutely gorgeous.
I was able to wear a t-shirt on Wednesday. So I was like, what is going on?
The feeling is so wild when you still see snow on the ground, but you're walking around in like shorts and a t-shirt and you're just absolutely vibing. Like, it's such a weird feeling, but I'm 100% happy it's like that.
Okay, so we're here to discuss the edge class today. And Drew, you want to tell everybody who your top 5 edges are?
Top 5 edges. Let me pull up my rankings quick. So number 1, I have Ruben Bain. I've only ever heard one person not have Ruben Bain top 5, and that was Brian, who graded him as defensive tackle when we were doing our edge boards. So he's my number 1. I'm going to be way higher on this guy than anyone else, but I have Zion Young, the edge rusher from Missouri, as my edge 2. Keldrick Falk from Auburn as my edge 3. TJ Parker from Clemson as 4. And David Bailey from Texas Tech at 5.
Wow. Ben, how about you? Who are your top 5?
I'm still reeling from the Zion Young at number 2.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a Kansas student. I should hate him. I should hate everyone at Mizzou, but for some reason, Zion Young just stands alone for me.
He overcomes the border war.
He's definitely got some really fun reps. I respect that. I love that. My top 5. So I've got Ruben Bain at number 1. I keep flip-flopping between him and David Bailey. They're two different types of players. Ruben Bain plays with a lot more speed to power and has less moves in the bag than David Bailey does. But David Bailey also has good enough speed to power, but is a guy that's going to win with counters and attacking you from different angles and different strategies, keeping you guessing. So I keep going back and forth. I was actually just on a podcast last night where I said I had David Bailey number 1. That's how close I have these guys. I do want to say this is where I would put Arvell Reese as an edge rusher. I'd put him at 3. But
okay, I'm glad. I was going to ask at one point where you guys have him positionally. So that's perfect.
I actually like him equally at both. I think the reps that he plays at edge, you know what? We can get into the Arvell Reese discussion later. I'll start with my rankings here, but I do like him as an edge better a little bit, I think. So I guess my real number 3 would be Akeem Mesidor. Then I would go TJ Parker, and then I have Cassius Howell.
Okay, and then Tyler, who are your top 5?
Starting off with the normal top 2, Ruben Bain out of Miami, David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Then I have Akeem Mesidor at 3 as well, despite the age and injuries. Keldrick Falk, number 4, was pleasantly surprised with what I watched on tape from him. Draft Twitter acted like he has killed their family members or something. I don't know what got wrong there. And then TJ Parker at 5 with Zion Young, Drew's guy, just missing out on at 6.
Okay, and I was doing that to see, like, each of those boards is different. I guess the first player I'd want to ask about is, on the podcast last night, somebody was even saying Keldrick Falk has high bust potential.
Oh, I actually go the opposite.
I would go the opposite way.
It is so funny.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with Tyler. I'll let you go first. And then
because I think I see, I guess, what he's saying, because stereotypically a guy that is really traitsy, but maybe doesn't have the production numbers at a lot of positions that would scream bust. But I think for him, he has such a high floor as a run defender. Dude is 6'6", 285 right now. He is a man in the trenches. He's so fun to watch play the run because he has violence. Like, he could pop tackles and be able to strike and shed, but he also holds gaps. And so that makes him scheme versatile in my eyes. If you're a defense that really loves to just try and blow stuff up, you're one gap and trying to run through, he can do that. If you're like, hey, we just want a bigger guy who's able to really hold down and sink down in the edge position against double teams, he can do that for you. So I think that gives him a really high floor where, say he doesn't figure it out, as a pass rusher, which I think he shows more potential on tape than, again, I think draft Twitter would tell you or would lead you to believe. But say he doesn't figure it out, he's going to be a really good run defender for you. And so I think that makes him more high floor than I would say a boomer bust kind of player.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think coming from a Saints perspective, the Saints have tended to love these types of edge rushers in recent years. Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, the scars are all still there. And those players, Saints fans will look, and they'll look pretty similar. I mean, big edge rushers, long arms, good against the run, like that. But they are very different players. Tyler said it perfectly. Keldrick Falk is amazing against the run, and he's still only 20 years old, I believe.
20 years old. Yep.
Yeah, 20 years old. So he's insanely young. And even if he doesn't develop at all in the pass rush, he will be a highly impactful first down, second down player on those short yardage situations. So I kind of view him, first off, he's a perfect fit for the Bears. If he somehow falls to the Bears, that is a Dennis Allen dream. But I think he would be someone that defensive line coach can think that he can kind of improve. He can develop that pass rush while in the first couple of years just being a monster in run defense at his core.
Yeah. I think the reason a lot of people say he's got high bust potential is because naturally you're going to get comparisons to guys like, why can't I think of the guy's name? Trayvon Walker or guys like Mykel Williams. Well, okay, don't take Trayvon Walker at number 1 overall. Don't take Mykel Williams at 11 overall. We know what this guy is. Like, these are all players that we kind of knew exactly what they were and what they were going to give coming into the league. We also knew that the potential was there. Like, you guys were talking about his run defense. Yeah, that's for sure his best quality. There's some reps where it doesn't even look like he needs to stack peak shed because he's so big that it barely takes any movement from him to just be able to completely physically dominate you and engulf the running back. So you know exactly what you're getting with Keldrick Falk, and there's also the off chance that an athlete like that can also develop a pass rush plan. I agree. There were some reps where I was actually impressed with his ability to try and use a cross chop or try and like double arm club somebody inside. So there's definitely potential there. He's only 20 years old on draft night.
Yeah,
I love that Mykel Williams call out. I think that's a great comparison.
That is a really good comparison. I was thinking that same thing. Unfortunately, Mykel Williams with the ACL injury this year, so didn't get to see a ton of him and how he could develop. But I'm glad you hit on some of the pass rush stuff because, again, just before I was doing edges, you see stuff pop up on X or whatever, and people acting like Keldrick Falk is this day 2 at best, day 3 kind of guy, absolutely zero pass rush. And I watched the Georgia game because they got Monroe Freeling, and then they got their right tackle who's a younger guy, but like a lot of potential, going to be a draftable guy one day. Dude, he won the corner on Freeling a couple of times. He showed a rip, swipe, that gallop move where then he can throw kind of what you were talking about, Ben, even a spin. And so I think while he is still raw, I don't want to act like he's this super polished guy because he's not, but I just don't think he's as raw as people would make you out to think. There are times where he just runs into tackles with no plan. Like that's there for sure. Yeah. But he ties some stuff together. He shows better bend than I expected. He's never going to be Von Miller, but just for a guy who's 6'6", 285, love that. And then even in the run game, the one thing I would say is his pad level can get better. So he's even got another level I think he can get to as a run defender. So there's a lot to like with Keldrick Falk here.
Okay. And I mean, I appreciate the deep dive into Keldrick Falk, and this channel will have multiple opinions on probably every player. So I heard Ruben Bain, David Bailey in common. I think he was in all of your top 5s. Yep. Falk was in 2 of the 3 of your top 5s. Was TJ Parker in everybody's top 5?
Was he?
He was in mine. Was he not?
Yeah, he was in mine.
Okay.
Yep. So I thought I heard his name 3 times. So the extra player, so to speak, would be like, Drew, you're higher on Zion Young, but then I don't think you included Reese.
Yeah, I have Reese right now kind of graded as more of a tweener. I'm gonna go back and watch this film. I haven't watched it for a pretty good length of time because I did the Edge Rushers podcast weeks or months ago with this channel, and so there's some prospects I haven't gotten eyes back on since then, and he's one of them for some reason. I don't know how, but yeah, I have him currently graded as a linebacker, but that is very susceptible to change after I go back and rewatch it.
Okay. And then Tyler, you said was Zion Young your 6th?
Yes, he was right on that outside looking in of the top 5.
How high is your 6th edge? Is that a first round grade or is that a round 2?
That is a round 2 type of guy.
Okay. And then Ben, where did Zion Young fall for you?
Zion, for me, I have him at edge 9. But I mean, if we're not counting Arvell Reese here, it's edge 8. But I have him among a big cluster of second round guys as well. I have the same grade on him that Tyler does.
Okay. And then Drew, do you want to tell everybody why they're not high enough on Zion Young?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always for some Zion Young propaganda. So his verified measurables 6'5" and 2/8, 262 pounds. He's got really good arm length, and that's very evident while on film. He's a 3-down NFL player. We talked about Keldrick Falk being a monster against the run. I'd argue Zion Young is better day one. He is just so strong. He's so good at separating from blocks. He can stack and shed insanely well, and he's just very consistent at it. He hits like a truck. That's one of my favorite things about him. I was watching, I believe it was the Oklahoma game, and it was like a read option or something. He did his job defending the edge, and then they had like a fake jet sweep going behind it. So he sets the edge and then just takes off and absolutely lays out the smaller wide receiver. It might have been Deion Burks or something. I'll post a clip of it on my Twitter. I have a Zion Young cut up kind of waiting to be posted. So I think I'm doing that Monday. So that clip will be included there. But he's got a villain mentality. You see the coin flip kind of clip. They win the coin flip in overtime, and he's just yelling, he's screaming. Just a fun guy, team captain. There are some off the field issues that I'm not going to get too deep into, but I think there's a difference from him. I think that's more immaturity, and I do think he's more mature right now because he was voted as a team captain. He was all that. His interview is going to be crucial at the combine. From a pass rushing standpoint, yeah, he's still fairly raw. He's got an inconsistent first step, and he still definitely needs to develop some pass rush moves. But I see a lot of potential with him. I think he has the chance to become a triple threat edge rusher, which is what I look for when they can speed around the edge, flexibility. They can go power through the offensive lineman, and they have pass rush moves. So he's not there yet, but I 100% think he can develop into that. He's got really good speed, athleticism, surprising amount of flexibility from what I saw. He's shown willingness to try moves. He had a spin move against South Carolina that actually worked pretty well that he just never went back to. So like you see some of the potential. You just like to see it there more. He's relentless, amazing hand usage. He swipes away offensive lineman's arms so well. So I'm bullish on Zion Young. There are still some questions he needs to be answered. The NFL Combine is going to be big for that, just with the team interviews, some of the athleticism stuff. So I'm excited for that. But I mean, if the Senior Bowl showed us anything, he was one of the biggest risers from the Senior Bowl. I mean, he straight up, I forgot who it was. Was it JC Davis that he ran through? The Illinois, Tyler would know that.
Yeah, it was JC Davis, the left tackle.
Mm-hmm. And just absolutely bullied him, flattened him to the ground. And that's the kind of power you're getting with Zion Young. That's the kind of potential I see. So I'm hoping a lot of more people get on the hype train of him. But I mean, I just see it with him. I think he's a first round pick.
Drew, I'm so glad that you brought up the inconsistency in his first step, because that's one of my biggest problems with him. Because if you're a guy that's not flying off the snap and not wasting any movement, no false steps in your get off, and you're a speed to power guy, I'm not optimistic that it can translate as well to the league. Like, I want you to be able to just fly off the snap. Otherwise, you're just Chris Braswell from Alabama. That was like his thing. That was his issue. Because he was this guy that won primarily through the bull rush. He was this like athletic project, but he just didn't have this consistently good get off. So a lot of the time his speed to power would just kind of stall out. So that's one of my concerns. But when it's there with Zion. You're so right. And like, he's just able to dominate you. I think we disagree a little bit on the athlete that he is. I don't see the same.
Me as well.
Speed.
Yeah,
the same speed to hit the corner that you mentioned. Like, I don't see that same speed. If he tests well, then maybe it's there and it didn't show up on tape.
the explosion numbers for him are going to be really crucial for me
10-yard
because
split is-
if he
Especially
does
if you're
the
just
10-yard
like a
split,
full-run
the broad
ball
jump,
guy.
the vertical jump, that all will be huge for me because if he has that other level where he can unlock that, then you can sell me on, okay, he didn't necessarily win the corner a ton in college, but he has room to do that. If it's kind of meh or it's, 70th percentile, then I kind of say, okay, he is who he is, which don't get me wrong, very good player, very productive player in college. He was top 10 in pressures this class, ideal build for today's edge in terms of his weight, his arm length, and can, still would be able to win with power at times. So it's not like he would just be a run defender, but that's why the combine interviews, like you said, Drew, and then the testing for me is really going to influence a lot of what I put on him because that will give him a true ceiling.
Yeah.
So I have
And
another
I
question.
originally had it
I'm
down.
looking at Ben's board right now, and Ben, you have Akeem Mesidor at 3 on your edge board. And my question
Mesidor
would be,
truther, let's go.
I love it.
would
I
you
love it.
draft a player that's going to be 25 years old in the first 50 picks?
Yes. That's all I gotta say about
Yes.
it. I mean,
I have a full spiel on this.
if you're
you would like.
drafting a guy that's 25, he better be ready to play. Mesidor is. I've never seen a guy more consistently attack leverage and angles with the amount of refinement that Akeem Mesidor does. He understands where you're losing, where your momentum is going, and how he can quickly flip to a counter to attack that. He's got that two-hand swipe. He's got the club swim. He's got a club rip. The speed to power isn't quite there, but he's got enough moves that he cycles through so quickly with how violent and active his hands are. And he does have that consistent burst off the snap. Like him and Ruben Bain, you could tell Jason Taylor has those guys coached really well off there to stack their joints and not have any wasted movement. No false step. You're not coming off that back foot. You're flying off that front foot out of the blocks. Akeem Mesidor has that. And at that size, that 280-pound size, or whatever he measures in at, he might come in a little bit lighter. We'll see. He might be like 265, 275-ish. But he moves so well for a big guy, too. So he's this weird kind of player that he wins primarily through finesse, IQ, toolkit, movement skills, not really speed to power. I wish he had a little bit more bend to him. Like there's moments where I think he does, but other times I think he leaves himself vulnerable to getting snatch trapped. Like sometimes when he tries to bend too low, it looks like he loses balance just a little bit. So he's not this like all around because if he did have that bend and speed to corner, I'd probably have him higher. I'd probably have him top half of the draft. But he's just this guy that's got everything that you want from an every down edge in the NFL. And he kind of reminds – this is going to be a weird comp, but do you remember Vinny Curry?
Yep.
It's similar to the skill set that Vinny Curry had. I'm not saying that he's only going to be as good as Vinny Curry. I'm just talking about it in the way that he wins. He's this big guy that doesn't really win with power. He's like a big guy that plays this finesse game. And some of his best wins came from playing 4-eye. So I think he's also this guy that you could flex inside, and that mitigates a lot of the concerns you have with that speed, turn the corner, the bend concerns, because you just primarily get to win by being a technician. So there's a lot. I just see so much potential for a guy like Mesidor in the NFL. There's so many ways you could deploy him. You might never have to take him off the field. And if you're 25 years old, that better be what I'm getting.
I was going to say, so let's address the elephant in the room. Really, it's 2 because he's 25 and he's had foot injuries a couple different times. So we'll start with the age because you look at this past year and then the year before and you go, okay, he really broke out his last year. Is this because he's just older than everybody? I say no. I'm going to pull up the stats here because his true junior year, the year that he initially transferred Miami, graded out really well on PFF, 28 pressures. Like his true junior year was not what he is now, but it was a really, really good player. He was an all-ACC selection. Like he wasn't just some slouch. Then that's when he gets hurt with the foot injuries. Let's move on to that. So I did some digging. Shout out to Miami's 247 board because they had this whole article. His cleats were wrong, and it was leading to these foot injuries. And so he got these specially made or developed cleats. This is where I'm not an engineer, and so I can't get fully into what that does. But he stopped having foot injuries after that. He hasn't had to worry about it. So I think narratively you can say, okay, if you're 25, you have to have a reason why you're 25 in this draft. I think he does between the injuries and then still doing well in his junior year, which would have been when he was 21. And I think the injuries are gone now again because they've developed this awesome cleat that, that apparently helps him out a lot. So that is why I'm able to, at 25, with these injury red flags, still be able to put him in the first round. Now, not the top half of the first round. Like his tape is top 10 tape, right? So that, I think factoring it in is where he is at the, back part of the first round, maybe late teens to the 20s is where I would start feeling comfortable with Mesidor.
I mean, for my kind of thoughts on a player that's a little bit older is if you can get a second contract out of them, it's a good pick. Like if you get 8 good years out of a player, you're not going to look back and say, oh, I wish I picked someone 4 years younger. No, you got your contract worth, you got your pick worth, and it's a great pick. It could either get you a comp pick, it could lead you to a championship, something like that. So I don't take as much stock into the age, especially with what Ben and Tyler have alluded to with how refined he is already. I mean, he kind of looks like the Tasmanian devil while rushing the passer to me. I mean, he is so chaotic in nature.
He's got stuff flying everywhere. And
yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like his arms are going crazy. His arms are swiping everywhere. Head is moving all around, but it just works for him. He knows he's so smart when he plays. He knows angles. He has a pass rush plan heading into it. He knows how to get the defender off balance, and you just love that. So despite the age, I mean, I think he's still an outstanding player. I had this guy, I think we covered him on the Edge podcast, like the second week of the college football season. It was extremely early. And I watched his Notre Dame game and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is this guy not getting talked about? Yeah. I'm like, what is the issue with this? And then I see the age and some of the injury history. I'm like, okay, but that is still insane. So I think once again, the combine will be big. I mean, I think we can say that with any player. But to see some of the numbers, to see the injury history, to let the teams talk about that, let the teams address it, see what's in these special cleats, because what are they doing that's working so well for them? So, like I'm a runner, I know the shoe, like shoes can have a big impact.
Yeah,
I strained two of my calves because I was running with the wrong pair of running shoes. So I know how much a different pair of shoes, a different pair of cleats can have an impact. So I want to hear what those are. Like I've never heard that. But it's super interesting talk. I mean, Keldrick, he's just a fun prospect. I'm excited to see kind of where he goes because there's such a wide variance of where you could see him go.
Yeah. So Tyler, you and Tristan are like, when you come on the podcast, you're pulling out nuggets that
fun facts,
I haven't heard on the players before. So that's
a great shout.
Well, it was an article in 2023 from the Miami message board. So we had to go pretty deep on that one. Use the reporting skills.
So, Tyler, who are your edges 6 through 15?
Right. So that is where we get Zion Young right on the outside there. And, 6 and 5, him and TJ Parker, I think are pretty interchangeable. Parker's a little bit higher, but like both of those guys, speaking of Illinois, Gabe Akis is there at 7, R. Mason Thomas at number 8. Then we get to Cassius Howell, Texas A&M at 9. Watched Malachi Lawrence at UCF, and then Romello Height at Texas Tech is another couple guys I've watched. Again, haven't gone fully through the edge class. Joshua Josephs is another one, Denai Dennis Sutton. These are guys that I've more, I guess, tangentially watched, haven't done full deep dives yet. And then just from Florida, Tyreek Sapp and George Gums are 2 that I watched throughout the whole season. They're going to be in that day 3 area with the Romello Heights and with the Malachi Lawrences.
So, Tyler, can you compare and contrast R. Mason Thomas and Cassius Howell? Because you said that you have Thomas higher.
I do.
I want to learn.
Ooh.
So I put them back to back and I watched them back to back because I just, in going through it, I saw, they're the exact same size. They're both listed at 6'2", 248, or I think one's 248, one's 249. And so I was like, okay, this will actually be pretty instructive, I think, to watch them back to back and really compare and contrast right in front. I was disappointed with Howell. I was actually talking to my dad who's in town yesterday, and he destroyed Florida. And so I was going into this tape thinking he is going to be this flying off the ball athlete, just really hard to deal with the first step, bendy guy getting around. And I watched the Notre Dame game, and then I watched the Miami game. Those were the 2 best offensive lines that he played. And I put it in our group chat. I watched the Notre Dame game, and I was just like, man, what am I missing? It's not that he is bad burst off the line, but it's not elite. It's not great. Short arms. I didn't love his against the run stuff. Like all of this happened. and it made me put him into a second round guy. He's getting skinny through gaps. He's got some good in terms of keeping the offensive lineman's hands off of him, but when he's going around the corner, but if he doesn't, he gets shoved off the corner. I think that's a play strength thing. And so all of these things, I came away off those 2 games, and it's really good tackles he's playing against, but these are the tackles that you're going to be playing against in the league, right? And so then I go to R. Mason Thomas. This one's a little bit tougher for me because he didn't really play against these high-level offensive lines. The best ones that I can get is I watched, which game was it? Sorry, I'm just like completely forgetting now. But I watched the South Carolina game. That's not an offensive line that's really great. And then I watched one more, and that it was like because he had injuries. We'll just start with the con injuries. A lot of ankle sprains. Had a hamstring injury when he tried to return a pick 6. I think it was against Tennessee, and so that's what you're worried about with him. But in watching, I think he is twitchier than Howell is, and the strengths and weaknesses basically is what I put. They're the same. I think they really are the same player. But then for me, R. Mason Thomas's strengths were just a little higher, and the weaknesses were not as low. So that is my R. Mason Thomas over Cassius Howell pitch.
Okay.
I always thought that R. Mason Thomas was a little bit more fluid, but a little bit more raw. R. Mason Thomas does like one move. Like he's only going to try and corner you. He's going to try and hit you with that dip rip. And it works. It works a lot of the time. I want to see a little bit more of a move set from R. Mason Thomas. And for clarity, I do have Cassius Howell over R. Mason Thomas. So I'm offering a little bit of a counterpoint here. I think Cassius Howell, I had no problems with his burst off the snap, but I'll have to go back to the tape and watch more games if it's a little bit more inconsistent than I thought, or I'll keep an eye on the testing as well. But I thought he just did a great job of doing the things that R. Mason Thomas does, but also varying his approach a little bit more, attacking inside, attempting counters. But I do agree, R. Mason Thomas is just a guy that moves a little bit differently. And I am willing to bet he's probably going to be younger coming out. This Cassius Howell, his age, I don't think is official. Like you can't find an official age anywhere, but he's a redshirt senior. So he's a guy that's probably going to come out being a little bit more of a finished product. So I could definitely justify having R. Mason Thomas over him.
I can 100% see it, but I'm on Ben's line of thinking. I do have Cassius Howell despite the outlying arm length a little, and I'm not even that high on him, but I do have him higher than R. Mason Thomas. And I was on it, like R. Mason Thomas is a great player, but I came away a little bit disappointed from his tape. Like, I don't know if I just had too high of expectations heading into it because, I mean, you listen to some of these people like Trevor Sikkema, people like that. They have R. Mason Thomas so high.
As like a first round pick.
Yeah, they're bullish on
so
all that. And I just didn't see it. Like, I don't think he's explosive, but I don't think he's the most explosive. He's got good pass rush moves, but I don't think he's got great pass rush moves. So I think he's good in a lot of areas, but I don't think he's that excellent player that a ton of people are rambling on about. Now, I do think he's a day 2 pick still because you do see a lot of flashes from him. You do see a lot of success as a DPR, but I'm just not on that train of him being a first round pick.
Yeah, very D Ford-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben, I'm looking at your board. I'm comparing it to the list that Tyler gave. The only edge that you have on your board that was not on Tyler's is Jayshon Barham.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, did you say LT Overton, Tyler?
No, I hadn't gotten a chance to watch him outside of Senior Bowl clips, and I didn't really count guys that I just watched Senior Bowl clips so far.
Yeah, don't base your eval on LT.
Yeah, because it wasn't great, but
yeah. So
Maybe
Ben,
the season. Based on last season, go to last season.
Yeah, Ben, why don't you talk about LT Overton and Jayshon Barham specifically? Because those are players that you're higher on than the other podcasters.
I have Barham pretty high too, but I'm excited to hear Ben's talk about it. I love him.
Yeah, so LT Overton, I got a 3rd round grade on him because he's an interesting build type player, interesting build / athletic skill set type player, but also it's a weird contradiction. His build / skill set is also what kind of leads me to be worried about tweenerism with him. So he doesn't have a lot of moves in the bag. A lot of the time, he's just trying to out athlete you. He's going to try and hit the corner. Sometimes he'll try speed to power, but it doesn't work out super well with a long arm. He'll try and attack inside, but he just doesn't really have enough moves to do that super effectively. But I'll tell you what, he's twitchy as hell. He changes direction great for a guy his size. He has some good moments against the run. I don't think he's super disciplined as a run fitter. But if you look at his tape last year, I'll tell you what, he looked a little bit stronger last year. I almost wonder if he cut weight to try and be more of a true edge rusher this season, and that might have contributed to a bit of the fall off this year. But last year, I thought he did a great job of stalemating run blocks a little bit better. Like, I thought his stack tape looked better last year. This year, it's just a little bit easier to wash him out. He doesn't have the same rotational strength in his shoulders to kind of seal that angle shut and take a lane and take an angle into the lane to try and make a play on the ball carrier. So there's just less moments of him being a dominant player this year. But you see the athleticism, it's still there. But again, what I worry about with that is, like, if you're not winning with speed to power, if you're not winning from the ability to get underneath a guy and get to the corner, how are you going to win as an edge rusher? Are you just DeMarvin Leal all over again? Like, where is your home? So he's this interesting athlete type player that I see enough upside with him that I would take him in the third round. But he's also a guy that's going to have to refine his game a little bit if he wants to find a home in the league.
Yeah,
And do you see him as an edge or a 3-tech? More?
Either.
Mhm.
I have him graded as both. I don't feel strongly enough about one over the other, but he's going to have to commit. He's going to have to commit to one. You can't just be this undersized 3-tech or this oversized edge that has trouble moving the way you should for an edge. Like, again, laterally, he's great. He's so twitchy too. You know, it's just, if you're playing on the edge, I want you to be able to threaten the corner. So that way they can't just like hold a tighter angle and wait for you to try and go through them or get in better position to mirror. Like that threat of the corner to get somebody to overset and maybe leave the inside shoulder more vulnerable. Like, he doesn't have that kind of stuff. So I want LT Overton to commit. Either drop some weight and try and play edge, get more of that functional athleticism, or gain some weight and try and get more of that strength that you had last season when you showed stacking blocks and making plays in the run game. Like, try and get that back and play 3-tech. Like, I haven't graded equally as both. He's just got to choose which one he wants to do or confer with coaches, and they'll give him a roadmap.
His evaluation is going to be very interesting because I think Alabama really relied on him on their defensive line, whether that was in the pass rush or as a run defender. And I just don't know if he, as Ben said, the tweener, he kind of couldn't decide where he was, and that kind of hurt him in both areas. So I think his evaluation, his interviews at the combine are going to be absolutely vital to his draft stock. He's either someone that you could see going a lot earlier than you'd expect, because some team thinks they can mold him into either the 3-tech or the edge, or someone a lot later than you'd expect because they don't know where he'll play. So his evaluation is going to be an interesting one, and that I think every person might have a completely different thought on.
Yeah. A lot of my third round grade honestly goes into the stock that I had in him coming off of last season. Like, last season, he was one of those guys that I pegged as, like, you know what, this guy could be a first round player. If he takes another next step, he could be like one of those top players in the draft. But he just didn't end up doing that. He ended up going backwards and regressing and being far less of a threat than he was last season. So I'm banking a little bit of that third round grade as well, just off of what he was last season.
As you guys are talking, a more recent guy that this reminded me of is Darius Robinson, who came out of Missouri. And he was that same tweener where he actually started at defensive tackle early in his career in Missouri. They moved him out to edge. He lost a little bit of weight to get out there. And that whole process, I was like, I actually kind of like his D tackle stuff more than I do edge. And so I was really hoping he would kick down injuries. And then ultimately it seems like Arizona is not doing that. We'll see with the new coaching staff. And he struggled to survive, but it was for a lot of the same reasons Ben is bringing up. He never could threaten with speed at all because he was this really big guy, and he was explosive for his size, but it didn't matter because, like, relative to other tackles he was going up against, he couldn't threaten out there. And so I do really worry, and I'll save this for getting into his actual full breakdown. But at this point of just watching Alabama a lot in the college season, I do wish he would kick down to D tackle.
Yeah, probably.
So, Drew, do you want to go through your 6 through 15 edges?
Yeah, I can. So I have Akeem Mesidor at 6. Tyler's Illinois guy, Gabe Akis at 7. Cassius Howell at 8. Malachi Lawrence from UCF at 9. R. Mason Thomas at 10. Jayshon Barham from Michigan at 11. Denai Dennis Sutton from Penn State at 12. Derek Moore from Michigan at 13. Mikhail Kamara from Indiana at 14. And then Romello Height at 15, with USC's Anthony Lucas just missing the cut.
Good. So talk about Barham and Kamara.
I mean, Barham was a little in-person scouting that I didn't know his name a ton before because former linebacker converted to full-time edge at I think about week 3. But I was at the Nebraska versus Michigan game. I I'm from a little bit outside of Lincoln, so I'm like, I'll go home, watch this game because Nebraska was really high up then. Like they're doing really well. And then Jay Sean Barham he was killing Dylan Raiola. None of the Nebraska's tackles could defend him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get some eyes on this guy. And I just really like what I'm seeing. I mean, I do wish there was some more film of him at full-time edge, and I don't think he's fully defined there yet. I don't think he's fully refined. But I do see a lot of the developmental stuff that makes me feel confident that he can make it. Extreme explosiveness, flashes some good hand usage. I've seen some pass rush moves. I don't think they're defined at all yet, but he can develop them. And I'm hopeful of that. I might be putting a lot more stock into that than other people and a lot more hope into that, but I just see it with him. He can have some bonehead plays. I think it was in Ohio State where he headbutted a ref. There's just I don't know what's going into the thought process of that, but so maybe that's a little bit of concern, but I highly doubt he headbutts another ref in the NFL. But I'm a big fan of Chayshawn Barham, and I'm really hopeful that he can develop into something when he takes a full offseason at just rushing the edge.
Yeah. And you got to think how new he is to the position in the pure eval of him. Like you said, he literally just started playing edge for Michigan.
Let's pause that. He was an edge at Maryland. He was recruited as an edge. Michigan moved him to linebacker. Then they moved him back to edge.
Oh, they moved him back. I thought he was also an edge linebacker back in Maryland.
Check my math, but we've covered Barham a few times on the channel. And I believe it was Owen that did the digging to see how he was recruited. But he was an edge at Maryland. Michigan moved him to linebacker, but you also have to consider, Michigan had a pretty good defensive line there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had
really good everything there. Like on defense. They really didn't have a weakness for a while.
So I pulled up Barham's 247, his recruiting profile. At least when he was in high school at St. Francis, he was listed as a linebacker. I'm going to check PFF his first couple of years to see.
I've got PFF open right now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, at Maryland, he did the same kind of role that he played at Michigan when he first started at Michigan. He's this guy that primarily played as a box linebacker, but also flexed down to play the edge sometimes, like kind of that Sam type-ish role. So this is the first year that he played more snaps at edge than he did at linebacker. Like this is like the first time they fully moved him down to that position. So it's like, yeah, he's played there before. He's played there in a lot of packages, but this is his first year really actually playing the position.
Okay. And for those Bills fans in the audience, there's a few Bills podcasters, myself included, at Draft Professor that are pounding the table for Jay Sean Barham to be a Bill. We think it's a perfect scheme fit for the new defense. We need linebacker help. We need edge help. He'll be able to do both, and you can add him to the roster and then figure it out. Because as you said, in different packages, he can line up in different places, and that's the kind of chess piece that the defense doesn't have. And it also should be pointed out that while Barham can be considered a chess piece, he's not going to be an all-pro chess piece. He's just going to be a really good football player chess piece. But you guys have heard like the boards of everybody else. So I think Drew, you had Kamara. Mm-hmm. He was one of the unique players on your board that I didn't
Can I talk about one guy that I really want to talk about? I really like talking about, and that is Anthony Lucas. I think he is fascinating to talk about because if you close your eyes and think of a prototypical edge rusher, you want your best possible edge rusher, height, size, weight, everything. You just picture Anthony Lucas. He's 6'5", 285 pounds. He's got very, very lengthy arms. So he's just the perfect frame for it. And he's just got glimpses of an outstanding play, but they just come too far in between. He's got a pretty good spin move, actually. I really like that. He's got great hand usage, can fend off smaller plays with his arm length and just throw them away in the run game. He's a good athlete, high motor. He's got experience in coverage. But, I mean, he just plays with high leverage, not as strong as his frame would indicate. Doesn't consistently provide pressure. He kind of gets stuck too often and pass rush kind of dies. And right now he's just got 0 counter moves. So you want to see him develop that. But he's got a very interesting background. He was a competitive swimmer in high school. So I mean swimmers are athletes. Like they have great core strength and great stamina. And you can kind of see that. But it's just you love the idea of him. You like a team will look at this player on their board and they'll have 6'5", 285, long arms, all that highlighted, and they'll be like, "Oh, why is this guy still on the board?" But his film just doesn't match it. I could see him going earlier because the team thinks that they can develop him, and he could be a future outstanding player. But I mean, you just have been hoping for him to take the leap for years now. He just never has. I don't know how much you can count on that at the next level.
Do you think he's actually 285?
I think he's a little bit lighter.
I think he's like
But
265. He doesn't look
270s,
285.
like yeah,
He looks like Austin Booker, right? That was his
that's
name.
my boy.
Yeah, Kansas guy. That's right.
That's my boy.
He looks Austin Booker size to me. Which Austin Booker was definitely still big, but he's, you're talking 285, you're thinking like somebody that can flex in and maybe play 3-tech even.
Yeah, I
Like,
think Ruben Baines list is like 275. So
yeah, he looks smaller. He looks less dense than Ruben Bain does to me.
yeah.
But I totally agree with what you're saying on Lucas. He just missed my top 15 because he's one of those athletic profiles like Booker, who is my comp for him, that intrigues you. The long 6'5". You talked about the long arms. I thought his arms would be a little bit longer. Like I expected like over 34 inches, but I think they're like 33 and a half, if I remember correctly. But they're, still paired with the fact that he's 6'5" and like this dense big guy. That's the kind of player that you want to work with, the type of prototype you want to work with. Yeah, you pretty much said it all. He's just got a underdeveloped move set. One thing I worry about with him, I don't think he really flies off the snap. He's another guy I don't think is going to be able to move through you a lot of the time with speed to power. But, you get him working with a good defensive line coach. That's a versatile body type. And he's got violent hands, too. He's got violent hands to work with, too. There's a lot of stuff that's coachable with Anthony Lucas.
I mean, he's going to be a preseason standout every single year. You're going to see him make an absolutely huge play, make like 3 sacks, and it's going to be the same cycle. A team's going to go, "Oh, he's the next star." This season, he's breaking out, and then
Anthony Lucas has a great game against Storm Norton.
He dominated.
I also think Anthony Lucas is your prototypical day 3 edge rusher.
Absolutely
right.
Why not?
Agreed.
You just shoot or shoot.
Okay, you have a need at the position. You need to fill a roster spot. You're comfortable putting him on the roster as an edge 3 or an edge 4. You'll be able to use him on first and second down. So you'll be able to get NFL snaps out of him. The pass rush may not ever be there, but if you can get 20 or 30 snaps out of a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, that's a good use of resources.
Yeah. And he's that body type, you're going to be salivating over how can I get this guy involved in a football game. And another thing that we haven't mentioned yet about Luke is he tackles really well. So while I'm not particularly thrilled with his tape in the run game, I just don't think he really understands angles all that well. He does a nice job of using his length to kind of cut people off that are trying to cut off his angle. And he does a nice job of finishing plays and wrapping up on the running back. So like there's traits in every part of the game. It's just I wouldn't count on him being productive in any part of the game, but there's stuff to work with.
I'm looking up how old he is because I'm pretty sure he's pretty old. And he's only 21. Never mind.
Oh, so he's a
true
true senior. So he's not like super young, but he's not super old either.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 21. Yeah, that's perfectly fine age to continue to develop, especially like growing into your body more. I think if he is indeed 285 pounds, then he needs to add a little bit more functional strength, I think. But if he's not, if he's lighter than like I think he is, I think it would benefit him to maybe get closer to that and be somebody that could flex inside a little bit more.
Yeah, he's just one of those profiles. I mean, he was a 5-star coming out, right? He was in that big Texas A&M class that had all the defensive linemen, one of those initial big, and it was one of the first NIL classes where they just grabbed everyone with all their oil money, and then it didn't work out. So I don't know. It's just these profiles always scare me because he has the traits, but I'm like, okay, you've been in college for years and you never figured it out really at all. Like not even a ton. There's some stuff there, like you guys hit on some of the flashes, but I don't know. It's a rough one, but that is why he's a day 3 prospect. And so I don't want to act like he's undraftable or anything like that. But just it scares me a little bit when he's one of those initial guys that gets millions of dollars and then you don't see a ton of improvement over the 4 years. You guys hit on, I think, kind of beat around the bush on it. I don't love how the weight's distributed. Like, I think it's kind of bad weight at this point. And so this is where it probably needs to be interviews. And I don't like to say this about players because I don't know. I'm not in the day to day, but I would be like, hey, I would really want to go to Texas A&M and USC and say, hey, you be real with me. What's the work ethic? Like, is this where maybe he just didn't get great coaching, or is this something we can fix, or is he just not wildly interested in football right now?
Okay. Any other edges that, I mean, I think each of you shared your top 15s. Drew, do you want to circle back to Mikel Kamara because he was a combine snub, but he was in your top 15?
Yeah, I mean, he's never one that is going to be a 10 sack getter in the next level. He's never going to be someone that will make an all-pro or probably not even a Pro Bowl because he's not going to be the biggest name. But he is just going to be a good football player who will impact the game for you. I mean, that's exactly what he was at Indiana. He never broke out as this major star who was wreaking havoc on opposing offensive lines. But he will just impact the run game. He'll impact the pass game, can do stunts and all that really well. He's got some good pass rush moves, so he'll get you a couple sacks per year. I think he's going to be a 5 sack getter in that league for a long time. So, I mean, I want to say more, but I mean, he's just a good football player. Like, that's just how we'll describe him.
His run fits. Yeah, his run fits, and really it was just Indiana's run fits were unreal.
They're so good.
Like, just it took to the college football championship game against Miami. I finally saw them blow that on the big Mark Fletcher run, and I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? Like, the moment's getting to him here because it doesn't happen, and he's a big part of that, right? I love how you said on stunts because I think the biggest part of his game is that he's so smart and he's so disciplined, both in sticking to his run fits. He's going to hold down what he needs to hold down, and he's not going to be trying to make some massive inside move to make a play, miss the back, and the back's out the gate for 20 yards. It's not going to happen. And then on the stunts, he's very tight. He's very good in his timing. All the little things he does really well, which I agree, Drew. This is going to be a player where you're just going to want to have him as your 3rd or 4th kind of rotational edge guy for a long, long time.
His clip against Isaiah World, the one, I believe it was him, the 1-on-1 pass rush was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
I think he posted to his Twitter, like, you see the potential. I don't think he'll ever be anything game breaking, but he'll just be a darn good football player.
And ultimately, that's what you want in round 3 and day 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. I mean, if you get someone in the 5th round, 4th round who will just be impactful, that's a good draft pick. You won't ever complain about that.
Do you think the length is going to affect him in the league?
Do you have verified measurables on that?
No. See, he's a guy I haven't really delved into. But here, let me.
I wish the combine. That'd be a really good thing to see at the combine. And if it is a concern, I definitely could see it impacting him a little bit. But with his IQ and with all of that, I don't think it's as major of a concern. Maybe it'll hurt his run fits a little bit more, impact that. But I don't think it'll have as much of an impact as it would on other players.
Okay. Yeah, and there are no verified measurables for his arm length now. I just looked for a little while.
Hopefully Indiana Pro Day we get something or something like that. But
we need something because this sounds a lot like how I felt about another Kamara a couple years ago, Mohamed Kamara,
he's
out of
fun.
Colorado State. I liked him a lot. I had a 3rd round grade on him, and I saw him very similarly as like this guy that can rotate in and just give you anything that you need him to give you to a decent degree in terms of run fitting, in terms of having the move set to be able to beat anybody in pass pro, despite not being a great athlete. But again, just that lack of length, that lack of standout explosive traits, like that ended up affecting Mo Kamara, I think, in the end. I mean, I'm still pulling for him. I'm gonna stand on business here. I'm standing on that 3rd round grade I gave him. One of these days he's gonna be great, but it's one of those things that might serve as a bit of a cautionary tale for me moving forward when I evaluate players like that seem like too perfect all around to not be good. So the one thing that really worries me is just the length with Kamara, before really diving into his tape. But I'm excited to get into it.
And Ben, with Mohamed Kamara, do you remember how tall he was?
He was like
6'2".
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it
because
was very small.
I swear to God, he was 6 foot.
It might. You're probably right with 6 foot. I think he was listed as 6'2", but
was
he was
6
close
foot.
to like 6 foot. Yeah.
He measured
I-
in 6 feet.
at that point, if you're not very lengthy in your arms and you're short, we got to use that to our advantage and get good leverage, which is something I like out of Mikel Kamara. And I think that might be just how he has to survive in the league is like, hey, you got to be able to get low and we got to get a little more explosive because you're going to have to explode into guys instead of just fighting out here. We've got to get real close quarters so that you can be actually running through them.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him. He's the kind of pass rusher I love. So you guys got me excited now. I'm ready to get into it with him.
Yeah, so I know that, like, as we were talking backstage, I think each of you came to the podcast with like a top 15 edge board. Like Drew, I think you probably burned through like close to 40 edges when you were podcasting with us.
We went through a good amount. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of them didn't declare, so I'm like taking them off my board. Anto Saka off the board. Players like that who I love Anto Saka, but yeah. So it's just a lot of refining before this podcast to see who's not declaring, who's doing all that, because I've kind of been lacking on the edge big board sense because I did watch so much of it. But I mean, it's always fun to talk about, and I still think this is a very good edge rusher class.
Yeah, for sure. I was disappointed Clev Lubin didn't declare. You guys
Yeah,
want
that was another one.
That sounds like a made-up name.
I love Clev Lubin.
I don't
Clev
believe
Lubin is
that.
really
What's your
fun.
name? Yeah, he's just gonna try and power through you. He's a great player.
One of the best motors I've seen. I
Yeah.
mean, he just does not stop
Yeah, beast. But that's a conversation for another day.
for next year.
Yeah.
well, and you know, next year's draft podcast start in May, so like we don't blink. The podcasters may change, but the draft stays constant. Okay, so any other edges that anybody wants to shout out?
We gotta talk about Malachi Lawrence, I think.
Yes, we do.
Dude,
Go for it.
somebody in the group chat, a little behind the scenes here. The reason I watched him, somebody was like, yeah, he's my edge too. And I was like, what am I
Yep.
missing? Yeah.
Is
So,
that Hank?
100%.
Part of
100%.
me gets it. A part of me gets it. What? Where, so
well,
you guys
you're going to
both
have to. You're gonna have to sell
Malachi?
me then. You're gonna have to sell me.
You guys both have Malachi in your top 15, or
Yes.
you guys both?
Yeah, I
He's-
do.
He's my
Yeah.
10th, right?
He's
at this
9
point.
for me right now.
10, 9. Okay, Sans Arvell Reese. I have Malachi at 7. So we all see him pretty similarly. I'll start with Malachi, I guess, since I brought him up. First of all, I like the toolkit. I think he has a lot of moves. Like it's a very similar toolkit, I actually think, to Mesidor. Like you do see a lot of that 2-arm swipe. You do see a lot of that swim move, that club swim inside. The thing I think he has, though, that Mesidor doesn't quite have is bend. He's got a little more bend than Mesidor. I think you see a little bit more cornering ability with him. He's able to cross chop you. He's able to hit you with that club rip on the outside and get underneath you to try and make a play on the quarterback and turn the pocket into chaos. Like, I will say, I don't think his cornering speed is like incredible, but it's good enough to get by. Like there are some moments where he
I have the
loses a little
same,
bit speed once he's contacted. It's inconsistent, you know. And
That's the
second-
biggest thing. If he gets hit at the top of the rush, he's just not really able to complete the top of the rush.
Yeah, and like everything about him is good enough, but nothing like flashes off the tape for me. And I do love his burst. I do love his first step. I think he does have a good first step. So you know, as a pass rusher, that's a pretty good start. You know, good first step. A lot of moves. He varies his attack. You know, he'll work inside. He'll keep you guessing throughout reps. Where's he going to go next? Is he going to try and hit me with the corner? Should I overset? Oh, whoops, my inside shoulder's open now. Like he's one of those guys that he plays a cerebral brand of football. I think he's a little bit stiff. Now, while he's twitchy, I think he's a little bit stiff. And I think that hurts his ability to cross face and recover when the first move doesn't work. His counters are less effective than his initial moves just because of the kind of athlete that he is. Like, yeah, he's explosive, but almost similarly to Cassius Howell, too. I think Cassius Howell might be a little bit stiff as well. Like, I saw kind of a similar thing.
I put that he's a linear athlete. So
Yeah,
he's really good at that burst off the line, like you said. You know, he's 250. He's going to need that. But some of the reaction stuff, or even some of the getting lateral at times, I thought he got a little stuck, as you were saying.
Absolutely. And he tried a long arm a lot this year. I'm also not thrilled with his speed and power. It's another one of those things where I think it's like it's enough. It's enough to make some plays sometimes, but it's not something that's going to be a standout trade years in the league. I think he had the easiest schedule of.
I was going to bring it up because I was trying to watch games, or I was trying to get games to watch. I was like, okay,
yeah,
not a good O-line.
Yeah, what do I play? Like, what games do I?
He's got that Kansas O-line.
That's
we got some players.
That's true.
They defended it sometimes. It was a struggle, but UCF was a pretty good game for that. I was at that game, the UCF versus KU game, so I was able to watch Malachi Lawrence a bit there.
Yeah, he's got good enough length. He's got 33.5-inch arms. Everything about him is good, not great. But you like a player like that. My comp for him is Ryan Kerrigan, because that's what Ryan Kerrigan was. He was good, not great at everything, and that equated to a pretty damn good starter. So he was always a guy that was making plays. He was never considered this elite guy, but he had all the moves. He didn't have all the athletic traits, but he had a good first step. He had that ability to attack you from multiple different angles. That's the conversation that you're having with Malachi Lawrence. He's also 23, and he, late career breakout. You got to worry about those kind of guys. And, late career breakout paired with easy schedule, paired with all this other stuff, there's red flags popping up here. It's like, okay, now I'm starting to kind of get why you broke out this year in these conditions. But I think he showed enough on tape for me to be optimistic that the stuff he showed on tape can continue. I have an early second-round grade on him, and he's the only one in that category for me. Like, I can be convinced to taking him round 1, but I don't have that like round 1 to 2 grade that I have on Cassius Howell or I believe Keldrick Falk I have in that tier as well. I think he's just going to be a very useful, startable player.
Okay. Anybody else want to give their opinion on Malachi Lawrence?
I mean, I think Ben said really everything I was going to say pretty perfectly. Get the concerns, but I mean, you've got to like the potential. You've got to like a lot of the things you see. I can 100% see the vision of people having him that high. I'm not there yet, but I wouldn't blame anyone for having that.
Yeah.
And Tyler, I love that you shouted out the group chat, because there's definitely players in that group chat that certain people are going to be really high on. And Malachi Lawrence and Ted Hurst both have a cult following inside of that group chat.
I got to watch Ted.
He's a fun one. He's a fun one.
I've heard someone compare him to George Pickens yesterday. That was on the draft podcast, I remember. Yeah.
Yep.
I heard a George Pickens comp, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I haven't watched this guy yet.
I don't think he's as physical as George Pickens. I don't necessarily see that one as much, but I mean, I love Ted Hurst. He's an amazing player.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Yeah, we all seem to pretty much agree on Malachi. I mean, does anybody have a
I guess I agree pretty much on everything you're saying in terms of the player, but I think we didn't really mention against the run, and that maybe is what worries me and drops his value for me. Yes. I don't love him holding the point of attack, and I didn't see enough of knifing in, because Cassius Howell, if we're talking about just lighter, faster guys, I was like, okay, Cassius Howell is getting torqued out of the gap. He's not holding gaps.
Yeah.
But he's got a nice where he'll knife under a tackle and be able, or a tight end, and be able to make a play that way. And so I'm like, okay, I could maybe, there's a vision where you possibly could be a 3-down player. I don't think it's probably going to end up that way for him, but I can at least catch a vision of it. With Lawrence, I just can't. And so I think that maybe makes me bump the value down a little bit, where I would say later day 2 into day 3 is more of the value that I saw him at.
He's got the length. I worry about the core strength.
Okay, well, why don't we pause for podcaster identification? Tyler, do you want to let everybody know about your other podcasts and your other sports content?
Yes, so I work at WCIA3, which is the CBS affiliate here, a news station in Champaign, Illinois. And so through that, we have a digital app, the WCIA3 Plus app. You can download that on, if you have physical Apple TVs, Roku, or Amazon Fire Sticks, and you can check me and Ethan Halesha out on Midwest Mashup. We are talking the pro sports in Indianapolis, Chicago, and St. Louis. Those are the 3 fan bases that tend to move over into our part of Central Illinois. So football is over, but we are doing a ton of basketball right now. It was a fun trade deadline for both the Pacers and the Bulls, getting some baseball offseason moves. Hockey's on a break, but we will be talking to some of the players from the Blues and Blackhawks that went to the Olympics, and talking about a little bit of Olympic hockey, and then doing some fun stuff. I think for the next episode, we have a draft where we're going to be taking teams from the big 4 sports in the cities we cover. And so we're going to build out a team. So, you got to choose between maybe the 96 Bulls and the 98 Bulls, whichever ones you choose there, take a football team and see which one comes out better. In that, also would like to extend an invitation to you guys and anybody else who would love to do maybe like a 10-minute draft segment talking about Bears and Colts, because I think it's a fun spot for the Bears to be in for their needs. And then the Colts need to figure something out because they don't have a first round pick. So they really got to dive into this draft prep, but that is where you can find me. And then Twitter is right here on this part. Oh, well, now the comments over it, but it is in that part. And you can follow me there as well.
Well, I didn't mean to cover it
No,
up. Sorry
you're
about
good.
that.
You're good. You're good.
Ben.
Pretty much right now. I mean, I'm just doing the stuff with Draft Professor. Me and I don't know if you guys are familiar with IDP Hunter. He's a defensive, individual defensive player, fantasy football type guy. I just did a podcast with him, and we're planning on doing a couple more soon. So he'll be dropping those episodes soon. His Twitter is @RealIDPHunter. You can look him up on YouTube. My Twitter is DraftDayBen. I'm just getting started here with all this stuff. So for the most part, this is kind of home base for me for the time being.
Glad to have you here, Ben. And you also were drafting for the Browns in last night's mock, so truly appreciative of that as well.
Oh, yeah. And I knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, that was a pretty good
Sonny
draft.
Styles and Carson Schwarzenegger? Come on.
Drew.
So I'm a student at the University of Kansas. Follow me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called @Jerome Collins. It's right up there. I'll be posting scouting breakdowns, stuff like that. Posted Ruben Bain a couple days ago. Zion Young will be getting up on Monday, and then I think Jayshon Barham or something will be coming up on Tuesday. So a couple fun ones are getting out pretty soon. And I'm a writer for the New Orleans Saints on Who Dat Dish, as well as I'm a draft analyst for Roundtable Sports, where I cover the draft for the Vikings, Saints, Chargers, 49ers, and Texans. Feel like I'm going to forget one of those sometime, but haven't yet. And then I also have a Saints podcast called The Dome Discussions. We are getting at least one up every week. So Saints are in a fun time right now. We have a lot of optimism around Tyler Shuck. Draft season's coming around. Had a great 2025 draft class. So hoping to replicate it. So if you're interested in hearing more, check that out. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to remind everybody listening that Epic Mock is April 9th, 10th, and 11th. That is a 7-round mock draft that we are going to do with 32 of our favorite podcasters. So we will have 32 people drafting for 32 teams. There will be trades. There will be podcasts every day, April 9th, 10th, and 11th on this channel and many others to cover Epic Mock. So there's a couple questions that came in late in the chat. So it was that day 2. So the day 2, day 3 guys, I think Jayshon Barham and Mikel Kamara fit nearly every scheme. And those were a couple guys that we covered earlier, but any other names that anybody here would shout out?
Oh, let's see. I was trying to just because I saw the question come up, so I was trying to look at Halfley, and it's tough because he came in from Boston College and really just inherited most of the edge rushers that the Packers already had, and they traded for Micah Parsons, which I don't think that is, everyone's looking for a Micah Parsons type edge rusher, right? And so I was trying to piece together kind of what he likes, and I think it's tough just because I could pull out like Braden Sorrell from last year, but that was what, a 5th or 6th round pick. I don't know if that tells you maybe exactly the guys he likes. Plus, he was just a pretty stock. What was he? 6'3", 250, fine athlete, but not great. Like I don't know if there's a ton you can pull from that selection.
And it's difficult to tell with a team like the Packers. Are those measurement thresholds going from the coaches up to the GM? Or does the GM have the measurements and it's up to the coordinator to use what they're given?
Yes.
Because, for example, we're dealing with the same discussion in Buffalo, right? Buffalo, with their prior defensive coordinators, never had a 350-pound defensive tackle that we would traditionally see as a zero tech. That was not on the roster, right? And I mean, there's a reason that teams could run all over Buffalo. Now, was that because that's not what Brandon Beam will draft, or is that because the coaches told them what he needed to go get? So it will definitely, there's definitely going to be a learning experience watching how Miami drafts. definitely. And then one other comment here. Any thoughts on Wesley Williams from the Shrine Bowl?
I watched him a while ago. I'm gonna try to see if I can find my thoughts on him. But if I remember right, I mean, the Shrine Bowl, he definitely had some good tape there. And for me, he was just kind of inconsistent this year. There were some plays and some games where he was really good. And then there were other ones where he kind of just didn't leap off the screen for me. So I'm going to try to find my notes. I mean, I switched over to a new style of notes a couple months ago, but this is before that. So someone else wants to talk while I sort through 30 pages of Google Docs.
Yeah, I haven't watched them. I will say I watched the Illinois Duke game just because it was on in the newsroom when we were doing some things. And I kind of like the other guy a little bit better, number 7 instead of number 97. But that is, I guess, that's all the analysis that I can give you there.
Yeah, pretty much same here. I remember people were talking about Wesley Williams preseason. Like I heard a couple guys bring him up during summer scouting as this interesting build / athleticism type guy who had some production in previous seasons that could break out this year. And it just didn't seem like it happened. Again, I got to watch him as well. I caught a glimpse of the other guy again, Vincent Anthony at the Senior Bowl. You know, he looks like this kind of bendy build type player as well that I'm excited to watch him as well. But no, I haven't gotten to the Duke guys so far.
And some people like Anthony more than Williams by about 3 rounds, and they still have Anthony as a 4th round edge. And then some people see Anthony and Williams as the same late day 3 picks. Because we've covered them. Like Drew, we did scouting reports on him. Mm-hmm. But when we did, I mean, Drew was there with Jack Bretnall and Brian. And Brian liked him, but Brian didn't day 2 like him. He just liked him as a higher day 3 prospect than a lot of the other day 3 edges kind of thing. So
I mean, Newt, I think, was the one that told me to watch him when I appeared on their podcast. And he didn't tell me anything about him. He was very specific that he wouldn't, but he was telling me to go watch, I believe it was Wesley Williams. So I remember that, but yeah, I cannot find my notes on him. I've gotten much more organized than a couple months ago.
Okay. So with that being said, we are going to close the podcast down. We have another show coming on in about an hour. So we've started a second Saturday show. You know, at Draft Professor, we find new podcasters. We create new podcasts. That's what we do. For Tyler, Ben, Drew, myself, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on a podcast in an hour. Have a good weekend, everybody.
See ya.